My friends, it has been a while since I've done a series, but since recording the Perfect Guitar Tone series did so well, I thought it was only right to take the next step and cover the element that basically determines the quality of our mixes. Drums. I think we'll start calling this the Not So Mini series because last time I called something a mini series, it ended up being like 10 episodes. But I blame you guys for that because I was making some videos that you guys had suggestions on and I wanted to cover all the info that I could. And we're gonna do that all over again. By the end of this series, I promise you will have an understanding of getting the perfect drum sound. We had so much fun with guests in the last series like Trey from Gear Gods, Rudy Ayub, Jeff Loomis, and more, so I'm gonna be bringing some new guests that may or may not have recorded some of your favorite albums. You're all real lucky. I live in Los Angeles, and for those wondering, yes, this series will be for recording live drums as well as sample choice and replacement. So everyone from bedroom producer to someone running a studio can learn something here. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and if there's something that Joey was famous for besides guitar tones, it was definitely a polished drum sound. But I'm not Joey Sturgis, and so I had to find my own path to creating a massive drum sound. So I would try out different samples, even try to rip snare samples from albums if it played alone for a second. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. And the results were less than astonishing. And the reason I wasn't getting a good drum sound is because I didn't really understand how drums were supposed to sound before mixing them, and everything you have to do to prepare to get the right sources. Well, after tons of trial and error, I have it under my belt. Throughout this series, the preamps I'll be using will be audience, and I'm still trying to grow my audience, so hit that subscribe button immediately. Transition game, still crazy. It all starts with step one, drum kit choice. Because whether or not you're using samples, the type of drum kit and shell size you use is going to determine the sound that you get. And professionals always choose wisely. There have been many a time that an artist comes in with their own drum kit and it ends up sitting on the sideline because it's not the right sound for the type of music. We're gonna be using my Tama Birch Babinga kit for a lot of these videos, but I also went to the pawn shop and picked up a $60 kit. The main reason being I wanted to show you what drums will sound like at their best, but I also want to show you what you can do with limited resources. Not everyone has thousands of dollars to spend on a drum kit, and there are times it can make a band very upset when they don't get to play their own drums. So I'm going to show you how to make the best of it. And make sure to hit that notification to be notified when we upload new videos, and of course leave a like if you enjoyed it. My transition game is really strong today. Step 2, tuning and reskinning. These two go hand in hand. Tuning drums properly after putting on fresh heads is probably the most important part to your drum sound. Each drum shell has a tuning that it wants to sit at, and it's our job to find it. We'll be using Beyonce, which is, my Ludwig Black Beauty over here, which is arguably the best snare ever made, and it's become a staple in hard rock and metal music. Devil's Snare. Where my OG Harry Potter fans at? As you can see, this desperately needs to be reheaded, but I'm gonna record some hits like this so we can do a before and after and show what I would do if I had to use these. Not every drummer can afford to reskin their drums every time they have a session. This is just reality, and as I said, this series isn't just about showing you the best you can make the sound, but also how to work with what you have. Step 3, cymbal choice. This is going to be interesting. What is the right cymbal type for the genre you mostly work in? How much different do sizes affect your overall sound? We're going to be testing out Zildjian, Meinl, and Soul Tone cymbals in this episode. This is going to be kind of crazy. There's a lot of information to unpack here because I see people arguing about these brands constantly, so we can put a stop to it once and for all. Is there actually a huge difference in the mix? Does brand matter more than the size of the cymbal? I feel like someone's going to be mad at me by the end of this series, but hey, it is what it is. Step 4, mic choice and placement. So we've picked our drum kit, reskinned and tuned them, have our cymbals set up, we get to the next and most important part, miking technique as well as mic choice. Improperly miking your drums can make the first 3 steps completely useless. You already created the source in the first 3 steps. Now you have to capture it. I'll be pulling out a ton of mic staples, but we'll also show some budget-friendly options, so regardless of whether you have the best gear or have to get by with a modest drum pack, you'll still be able to get an amazing result. And I definitely want to get someone specific for this episode, and we've talked about this on the past. You'll see it's going to be worth the wait. Step 5, and probably the most important part, the player. You can have everything set up perfectly, the nicest drum set in the world, every vintage mic that you can imagine. But if you don't have the right player, all of this is gonna be for nothing. Because it might sound right tonally, but it'll be missing the energy. And that is what we talk about most of the time when we're referring to sample drums versus live drums. There's a certain energy that is felt in a live performance. It's the reason we go out to shows instead of sitting in the comfort of our own home watching a music video. sometimes. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to have a great drummer join me in an episode by playing something, and I'll go play the exact same thing with the exact same setup, and I'm not a great drummer at all. We'll see how they compare, which will then bring us into the next episode. Number 6. Editing and sample replacement. This might be the most interesting episode in my opinion. Can a good edit save a poor performance? I really hope so. What we'll be doing in this episode is taking those two performances, editing both of them, and then once again comparing the outcome. We're then going to add some samples and see if there's a big difference between the good drum performance and the most likely lackluster drum performance. What if they don't sound all that different though? Does that mean that samples are as important as the skill of drumming itself? And what if they sound wildly different? Will that bring clarity to the fact that a solid drummer is the key to an even better mix? I'm curious to see this myself because I've never done this experiment before. And last but not least, step 7, mixing live drums with and without samples. So I'm going to take both of the performances and show how I would mix them without samples and play them back to back, and then with samples back to back and put them in a mix. Once again, will we be able to hear the difference? You're basically going to have to follow the whole series to see the result, but I plan on leveling up from the last one that we did. I truly think drums are the backbone of any good mix. Name a good mix with bad drums. Just one. Just one. You can't. It doesn't exist. I know good mixes with bad vocals, what I consider to be bad guitar tones, but never with drums. So I've explained quite a bit about what we'll be going over, but I'm open to adding a couple of episodes at your request the same way that I did last time. If you want a video on properly using moon gels or stick choice, picking the right beater, I'm open to it, but I need to hear from you in the comments. One of these videos will be dropping every week, so make sure that you stay tuned so we can finally accomplish the perfect drum sound. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you only have to do it one time. And tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Till next time, I'm out of here. Mic drop. But you know I'd never really drop this thing because it get really expensive. Later.